Hello, I'm Malcolm Hazlitt. Show me a happy man and I'll show you a gardener. Show me a happy girl and she'll be wearing gardening gloves too. And a regular friend who wears gloves for a completely different reason. She has some good advice on those personalities who sell health pills and potions. Good or bad for us? Well, more info on vitamins and minerals for us and the garden coming up now on OurTime. Welcome to OurTime, and as you can see, my dear friend Janice is still sailing around somewhere in the Mediterranean Ocean, on Crete I think this week, lucky her, but she'll be back very soon on OurTime. But right now I'm so happy to welcome MiltonVadoulis from Get Dirty with Milton on community television all over the place. Welcome.
Thank you, Malcolm. Lovely to be here.
You're loud like me.
I am. My kids are always saying, Dad, don't talk so loud on the phone.
Is that because you run a garden centre?
I think so. I'm always chasing people and talking to people, and some of my customers are elderly, so they need to hear me.
I'm elderly.
Oh, not so elderly.
Oh, well, you know, the ears don't work like the feet do. So just tell me, Milton, how did you get into gardening? How did you get into running a centre?
Yeah, well, it's a family business. So
Right.
we originally started out at Rosedale in the Barossa Valley.
Right.
My parents, my mum and dad. And then we moved to Gawler, which is our current site.
But did they run a gardening centre there too?
Yes, they did.
Right.
We ran both of them for a short period of time. And then when I left school, I went into the garden centre. Well, my parents were very keen for me to do that. I was perhaps a little bit less keen, but I did it. And, of course, very quickly I enjoyed it immensely.
Because it's amazing. They're living things.
They are.
You're surrounded with life.
It's beautiful. I mean, look at these plants in front of us.
Exactly,
They're just gorgeous.
my
They
favourite.
smell good. They look good. They feel good.
Yes. Now, how did you come to community television?
Well, that came by a little bit of a surprise. I got a phone call one day from Brian, one of the chaps that ran community TV, and he said he wanted to do a gardening show. And he had heard me quite a bit on radio talking about plants. He said, I want you to do it. Are you interested? And I thought, yeah, I thought he must have caught me at a good time, and I said yes. So that's how it started.
And how many, we were just talking before, you've been going 7 years and we've been going 7 years.
Yes, yeah.
So we've probably made a bit of a record, I think.
Well, maybe.
No, there's somebody else who's been going right from the beginning, and we're going to meet him in a few weeks' time.
Okay.
But with the garden, with the show, and also with the gardening, with the garden centre, do you do all your filming around the garden centre, or do you go out and film in people's homes or back gardens?
Well, we started originally just by filming in the garden centre, but we do some filming in the garden centre, but now we branch out. We go to private gardens, public gardens. We've also done some garden shows, the Royal Adelaide Show.
Right.
So we go all over the place.
So people can actually physically see you in the flesh.
Yes,
by
they can.
coming to the centre or coming to one of those.
Absolutely.
Do you see yourself as today's Don Burke?
No, I don't think
Has that been said to you once or twice before?
Yeah, I'm perhaps not as professional as Don Burke. So, look,
It's about knowledge, though.
It is
when you
knowledge.
think about it, it's really just about knowledge.
Yeah, and my forte, or what I like to do, is I like to explain things in a clear manner, and on the show we can do that. We have longer segments than perhaps the commercial TV shows, and we can show people more information and how to do things.
I'm sorry, we've just run out of time. It's been lovely to meet Milton. No. So with the garden centre, how do you get the knowledge for all of the different breeds of plants there are? Because obviously nothing is the same, and yet they're all the same because they come out of the earth. But there are deciduous trees, there are plants like these that, you know, eventually die off to a dead bulb-looking thing. What do I do with them then? But we'll talk about that in a minute. Where does all this knowledge come from?
Well, I think I was born in the nursery business, so a lot of that just was just intrinsic. It just developed. But of course, I studied horticulture for many years at the Adelaide Botanic Gardens, and the longer you're in the business, and if you're interested, you'll learn, and that's the best
Well, these
way.
are things you can't really say on your own program.
No, I guess
So
not.
people don't really know what your background has been or how you know what you know.
Yeah.
Now, you've brought in some of my absolute favourite flowers.
Have I?
Yes,
Good,
you have.
good.
I love cyclamens. I don't have great success after the first year. They look lovely in the pot. They sit out the front at the back of my house kitchen. I look at them every morning. I think they're just lovely. I've got the little miniatures, or I know the smaller ones than that, and these.
Yes.
And then I put them aside when they die off, and then I wait. What do I do wrong? Because they don't always come back again.
No, well, they don't always. And look, Malcolm, don't beat yourself up about that.
Buy a new one.
Go and
from
buy
your
a new
garden
one.
centre.
Well, from any garden centre. I mean, this guy here, they're about $10. They're cheap and they are such good value. Now, this guy here's been, it started to flower in March.
Yes,
and
that's when I like to buy them if I can.
Yeah, that's right.
Because then you've got them right through until summer.
That's right. This is 4 months ago. This has been flowering and it is still in flowering. So for $10, if that flowers for 4 months for you, you've got good value.
It's better than cut flowers then.
Much cheaper and much better for you.
But now, what's the secret?
Okay.
You can't bring them, well, you can bring them inside, but you can't leave them inside,
No,
right?
that's exactly right. Cyclamens like a cool climate, okay? They're not really good indoor plants, but it doesn't mean you can't take them inside.
Yes.
So keep
for
them
holiday.
Yeah, for holiday, for short holidays. So take them inside, but put it out with your cat at night, okay? Why do you do that? Because these guys like it cold. They don't like the warmth. So you
But
take
hang on, put it out with the cat. My cat wants to sleep on the bed.
Yeah, I thought you might say that. Well, perhaps the old ways put it out with the cat. So, no, but look, if you want them inside, maybe have two and swap them each day. Keep one inside, one outside. That's a really good way of doing it.
That is a good idea, actually. Yeah. What about watering and fertilising?
Okay, so they do need water and they do need fertiliser. But remember, and you've probably felt the leaves, they're quite succulent-y. So they don't like to be too wet.
They don't want to drown?
No, they don't.
Do you need to keep their feet in water or just water the plant, put it on the side, let it drain?
It's probably best to dunk the plant in a bucket of water so it draws the water up from the base and that doesn't get wet foliage and flowers. That is better for it. Now, you only need to do that roughly once a week to once every 10 days. Okay? Never leave a saucer of water underneath it. It's not an aquatic plant, okay? So you don't want that drawing back of water.
But is that true of ferns, the old saying you should keep their feet wet? Because
ferns are different. They like to be kept moist. Yeah. But most plants should not have a saucer with water in it all the time.
Because they'll drown. They'll drown.
They draw the water back, and of course, what happens when they draw the water back? It rots the roots.
Right.
So then the plant wilts.
Yep.
So what do you think when it wilts? You think it needs more water. So you put more water.
That's very true.
Creating a bigger problem.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
And I think my trick was always to just put your finger in the soil.
Yep, that's really good. Stick your finger in the soil, just a centimetre or so. If it's moist, don't water it. If you're not sure, don't water it. If it's dry, then give it a drink. Now, fertilising, yes, they do need fertiliser, and you should use a high potash fertiliser. That means it's a fertiliser for flowering plants, and you do that after you water it every time or every second time.
When you say you do that, do you mean you mix that into a solution and water it again?
Yes, so you mix it up in a little watering can.
Right, but without something underneath because it's already been wet.
That's right.
And that just helps disperse the
nutrients through the pot.
Right.
You never ever feed a dry plant.
Right.
You always water it first.
Right. Now, if we're talking about indoor plants, what do you think are the best indoor plants that you can leave inside apart from an aspidistra?
Oh, aspidistra is excellent. Oh, really? It's a good question because...
See, I know all this stuff.
I know. You're showing off now, aren't you?
I know.
You want a shot on my show?
No, yes, I'll come and do your show.
Well, it's a really good question because what is really high fashion at the moment is indoor plants. They open any fashion magazine and it's full of indoor plants.
We've got a lovely one over there.
I know, I saw
and we've never watered it, ever.
Really?
Got another one up there, never been watered.
Do you know their botanical names? PVC.
No. They're just no. That would be a bird's nest.
Bird's nest. Oh, very good.
And that would be. I've never seen a real fern
like that. It's a cycad palm.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Of course it is. I've got those growing in my front garden.
Yeah, they're gorgeous.
I'm not that small though. That's the thing. No, they are gorgeous, aren't they?
They are very,
and
very
they seem to just last
too.
forever.
Yep. Well, they were around when dinosaurs
Yes,
were
I know.
here, so
I'm glad I'm not a dinosaur because they're not that pleasant to. They're prickly and horrible.
Yeah, they are a little
You'd
bit.
need very big teeth.
Well, I wouldn't want to eat one. They are poisonous too to humans.
Are they?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I guess
Okay.
all of those things, though, outdoor and indoor plants, people are always confused. Like there's a lot of orchids around at the moment, for example.
Yes.
And you know, with the roots coming over the side,
yes.
and you think, should I be tucking those roots in? And what soil should I put them in, or should they be in sphagnum moss? What should I do with them? What should I do with the orchid?
That's a Phalaenopsis orchid or a moth orchid.
There's no dirty talk on this
I'm
show.
sorry,
I know you
I'm
get
sorry.
dirty hands, but
But they're really good indoor plants, and you should just leave them in very coarse bark and don't worry about the roots. Let them come out the pots and flow out.
and a good place in the house to keep an orchid like that.
In a well-lit, warm position. They like to
What about a bathroom with a window?
Window's good, long as it's a warm bathroom. They like to be in a room about 22 degrees.
Right, and obviously they need to be fed.
They need to be fed again with a high potash fertiliser.
High potash, I'll remember
potash,
that.
yeah.
Milton, it's been just lovely to talk to you, and good luck with your show because you're
Thank
about
you.
to do another season.
Yes, just about to film a spring season for 2017, so really looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Good luck for the future.
Thank you.
And I hope we see you on our screens forever.
Oh, that's very kind, thank you.
And we'll be back with more Our Time in just a minute. Welcome back to Our Time. KimberleyDouglas is one of our favourite advisors on this program, and here she is. Hi, Kimberley.
How you doing?
Great to have you back. Now, I have a burning question for you.
Oh no, yes.
It could even be a thorn in my side sort of question.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I keep watching TV, as everybody does, and we keep seeing often celebrities extolling the virtues of vitamins and minerals and bottles of things, things we should swallow and drink and stuff. We all know everyone's got to make a quid, but is it always good advice? Because obviously there's been recently quite a bit of television exposure about some of the more famous brands with what's actually in the product.
Absolutely.
And it's whether we need them or not.
Well,
Probably
sure.
more than anything
Look,
else.
there's a lot of answers to all of that. So first of all, just because someone sponsors an event or is given formulas to use doesn't necessarily mean there's anything good about that formula. It's all about advertising, and it's all
Okay.
about advertising packages. So
But surely there's got to be some value in the product that they're talking about.
sure, but it's also power of the dollar. And so there are probably, of many of the things that you see advertised, there are probably more than enough other products that are also equal or even better. And I'm talking about even particularly things that we can prescribe. So being a practitioner, we have another level we call white label, which is what we can prescribe. So not available in health food stores or pharmacies. So, so if you come to see a natural practitioner, that's what you can actually have prescribed for you. More potent, more efficacious, higher dosages, more purity. So it isn't, I think the saying, all oils ain't oils. And
Yeah,
so,
I've just got my head around what you just said, because what you just said is that, in fact, you can probably find a better product that isn't a brand label, probably doesn't cost as much either because the money hasn't been spent on advertising.
Absolutely.
Not that we're not saying to take those things if you feel it's right for you.
Sure.
But if you go and see somebody that actually understands that better,
correct.
then you can get something that's probably more potent and will do you a whole lot more good.
And I'll give you a great example. We talk a lot about magnesium. If we just picked on this one mineral, so many people hear me on radio or TV and say, I went to the health food store and I got the magnesium and I took one at bedtime, but I've still got my cramp, I've still got my restless legs, and it didn't work. And I'm saying, okay, but it depends on how deficient you are. It depends on what your gut absorbency is like. And so, you know, if this is someone who is on several medications, they have irritable bowel, their absorbency...
So they could be passing stuff too fast
we call
anyway.
it enriching the sewage. It could be very expensive magnesium.
The fish, good for the fish.
So I'll give you an example. Sometimes they're taking a 200 milligram or a 400 milligram. milligram, but in actual fact, they need 1,200 milligrams or 1,500 milligrams.
Right.
So people will spend money where they see the advertising. They might get an amazing result and it might be good for them, or they might go, well, that didn't work, and it sits in the cupboard. They don't take it long enough, or they don't take the right dosage. So I'm all for, if you don't know where to start with something that you've seen, or start with a recommendation from a friend. You know, if you're at someone's house, this is working for me, then that's probably a good place to start. But something else to really point out to you is that about 92% of all supplements are synthetic. That means made in a laboratory. They are not natural. Now,
So maybe we should just go out and buy a stick of broccoli instead.
Sure. Now, there is merit to
Sometimes.
just eating better food, because
Yes.
you need to understand that vitamins and minerals do not cure anything. All vitamins and minerals do is bring you back into a status of good nutrition. So the only thing, you know, vitamin C cures would be scurvy. Now, what is scurvy? Vitamin C deficiency. So we actually see that quite a lot. I can see a blood test.
Really?
I had someone in a couple of years ago who had a blood test showing he had scurvy, and I was quite intrigued. I said to him, where was your last piece of fruit and veg? And he said, does potato count? And I was like, no, potato does not count.
Yeah.
And he said, couple of years, and he had the
Yes.
typical teeth falling out, gums bleeding, sores that wouldn't heal. I was intrigued by what he ate. So he said, well, look, I have cereal for breakfast, and not a good brand. So cereal, a bit of milk, and maybe a piece of toast. At lunch, a ham and cheese toastie, and then for tea, some lasagna and wedges. You know, there were, and I actually thought there are people who eat like this that don't get the banana, the apple. Do you know the JAMA, which is the Journal of American Medical Association, over a decade ago, so one of the most prestigious medical journals in the world, said it is now prudent that we supplement because we can't get, and continuously I have people say, but I eat broccoli stir fries and I eat this. The problem is that we now need on average 12 to 16 servings of fruit, veg and salad a day. That's Australian Bureau of Stats.
Really, isn't it?
You can't consume it or afford it.
Yeah.
And so we have this mismatch now where we know we need to eat fruit and vegetable, and we're all trying, and yet we all fall short.
But because now, is that because the food is losing its nutrition getting from point A to B?
It's a whole lot of reasons. We pick things green. Our nutrients compete with pesticides, herbicides, weedicides, rodenticides and arsenic. I know.
I'm glad that she said that.
You know,
there is no way I could have
That's right. So
we should write a song using those.
I could make
we could
it
do
into
a
a little
jingle
a
to
little
try and
jingle.
help people remember that.
Yeah. So you think about what we do to our food. So talk to any farmer and they will already say, you know, what we do to our food is not what we did to our food 40 years ago.
Yes.
But on top of that, look at the way we prepare food. You know, we nuke everything, we steam it, we generate heat, it kills nutrients. We're stressed. We're on medication which inhibits our absorbency. We have more gastrointestinal issues than ever before, the Crohn's, the colitis, the irritable bowels. Just because you eat something, just because you take something, does not mean your body's assimilating it and absorbing it.
Do you mean to say that the pizzas we have after we do these shows
Yes.
aren't doing us any good?
Do you know I've never been asked back for the pizza? Is that because I'm the nutritionist?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
so. Yes, the boys here and the girls that are here usually also
Right, there you
devour it before anybody else.
After the nutrition segment and the nutritionist is gone. Yeah, that's good.
Yes, well, I just keep drinking the water and keep
That's
moving
right.
on. But, you know, it's interesting you say that, all of those things, because we are led to believe that we should be eating more fresh food.
Absolutely.
The ABC just recently had a program on about the wastage of food, the straight bananas or the misshapen carrots or
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
that's wasted. I've got a real thing about buying those particularly because,
feel sorry for
well,
them.
you know, I sort of feel, you know, if the banana's bigger or if the carrot's got 3 prongs on it or whatever, or whatever, it's possibly better for me.
It probably is.
And I'm also not a food throw-out person. I know there's a lot of research at the moment about using the food that we did buy, that we stuck in the back of the fridge,
Sure.
and turning into something else. I'm such a saver of food, I've got to say. But that was my upbringing because I was brought up in the Adelaide Hills. We grew a lot of vegetables, or we got them from the next door
Great.
neighbour, or everyone shared what they had. Yes, we had fresh milk straight from the cows, even before
Yeah.
it was cooked.
That's right.
Or pasteurised. And so I suppose our upbringing then was a lot more of the earth, whereas today it's really of the synthetic earth in a funny sort of way, isn't it?
It is. So we're getting this collision of all these things, the way food is prepared, the way we prepare it, the way we ingest it. And this collision leads people to walk into health food stores and really be at the whim of whatever salesperson is saying, what do you need it for? I have a bladder infection, take this one.
That one.
Or I have a kidney stone, what do I use?
Well, that worries me, only from the point of view that, again, it's a bit of the blind leading the blind. We're not expert in what could be wrong with us unless you've really studied properly, as you have.
Correct.
To understand how the body is working, what it needs, to look for those things that are missing. But also, when you're going to something like that, our brains are affected, whether we like it or not. They are affected by the advertising that we see. And like I said at the beginning, we're not saying people shouldn't earn a quid. It's important, otherwise we all would be starving. But the reality is we just need to get better advice from professionals who know what they're advising and can actually give you the right thing. And one of those products may be enough.
It may be perfect for you and it may work great and it may be all that you need, or it may not be exactly what you need and you may need to pivot just to another product or several products. Usually if someone says to me, I just want one thing and just take one thing to cover everything. If you truly understand how the human body works, it needs everything from vitamins and minerals, antioxidants, phytosterols, glyconutrients. These are all fancy words, probably another whole show, but...
I'm glazing over with those words.
I know.
I think I'm glazing.
I'll have to bring our jingle back. But you can't usually just take a pill to fix a problem. No. It's a lot more complex than that.
And that's true. And we've become a society that just wants to take a pill and everything will be fine. We forget we need to know how to prepare our food properly and all of those things. And maybe because everybody's working these days, nobody's got the time to look at these things properly.
Sure.
Maybe there needs to be a better education process through school and through the way that we grow up these days to understand that better.
Yeah.
Kimberley, as always, fantastic to have you on the program. Thank you for your good advice.
So very welcome.
See you again soon.
Absolutely.
And we'll be back with more Our Time soon. Welcome back to Our Time. Kimberley's gone off to put her rubber gloves on and Milton's come back to give us a little bit more advice. Speaking of wearing gloves in the garden, you really should wear gloves if you're gardening because there are all sorts of bacteria in the soil, aren't there?
Yeah, definitely. We always recommend put some gardening gloves on. It keeps the spiders and insects away and, of course, the bacteria.
And when you pick up a pot, you really don't know what's underneath the pot too. That's a very valid point.
And it's just easier.
I've been caught many times because you think, oh, I'll just do that little job now. I'll just do that little job now. We were talking before about the best indoor plants, but for somebody who doesn't have a garden and doesn't consider they've got a green thumb, but plants do bring life into a house and into a garden, is there a plant that sort of everyone ought to have at home, do you think?
Well, I think...
Apart from the aspidistra.
The aspidistra.
Can't kill them.
Well, look, devil's ivy is one of the best indoor plants to grow.
That's got the sort of yellow within the...
mottled colours, and that's a hanging plant. That's right, and you can train it along a wall or whatever, indoors. Monstera, the old fruit salad plant.
Yes, Monstera delicioso.
Ah, very good. See, he's a gardening guy, this. They are two very easy to grow indoor plants.
It's very easy to grow outdoors too. They grow enormous.
I know they do, but they're fantastic. Philodendrons is another group of plants.
Well, it's part of that family. Is that part of the same family?
Yes, that's right.
Because they have the same sort of seed poddy.
That's right.
Fruit
yes.
things. Yep.
They are also really what I call bulletproof indoor plants that anyone can grow.
Well, once again, thanks for coming and joining us on Our Time, and thank you for you joining us on Our Time. Remember, you can watch the program on all of these platforms anywhere in the country, in fact, anywhere in the world. So until next time we see you on Our Time, keep yourselves nice till then.